Miami breakthrough. Welcome to the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you stopping by for the best in discussion, debate, and analysis. Please like the video and subscribe right here at the Voice of College Football. When is the last time Miami won a huge game on a national stage? It could be argued 2017, Hard Rock Stadium, the same site, the same opponent, and the same final result, but this one much more difficult for the Canes. They routed the Irish in 2017, 41-8. This one took a last-minute field goal to fend off the Irish 27-24, but Mario Cristobal's biggest win by far with the Canes, who of course came up just shy of a college football playoff berth last season. We welcome you into the Voice of College Football. Here's the rundown. To me, Jordan Fiazon looked like the best player on the field for the first couple series as Notre Dame was getting him the ball in space and he was making guys miss. First would-be big play of the game was turned in by Justin Scott on the forced fumble of Malachi Fields with Jacoby Thomas on the recovery. And Scott was tracking down the wide receiver Fields in the flat after he got the screen pass. Heads-up play, belted the wide receiver. But after Miami's offensive line looked good in converting a first down on a fourth down conversion, Gerard Dawson, the Louisville transfer to Notre Dame with the batted ball to stop the drive, and then Miami botched the snap on the field goal, so we remain scoreless. And keep in mind, this is a bit surprising to me, Carter Davis, 4 of 11 in field goals with FAU. So think about the pressure difference. Won the starting job as the place kicker over Bert Auburn, who at Texas was a decent field goal kicker. I would look up the stats. You could do the same right now. I would guess he was around 75% for his career with Texas. Nonetheless, Davis would justify that decision. All right, more Miami offensive line. Mark Fletcher running the football, and this would be the key to the first half, and Miami jetting out to a 1 and sometimes 2 score lead in this game. If you give the game ball to anyone, it goes to the Miami offensive line. There was one play in particular in which, for about a 4th consecutive carry, Mark Fletcher ripped off 8-9 yards right up the middle, and Samson Okunlola headbutted him. He was so pumped, so excited, just wanted to run the football, run it downhill, and that's Mario Cristobal Ball. The former Canes national championship offensive lineman loves to run it downhill, and they have recruited the offensive line to do that, and they've developed it, and they've got the coaching in play to do just that. And now they've got the quarterback to play off of that as well, and we'll talk about Carson Beck's performance, and we are scrolling the stats as well for you. Malachi Toney, if you catch our Miami show with Cam Underwood from State of the U on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, I invite you to do so, especially with Miami looking like a contender, because he has been talking about Malachi Toney, and despite his freshman status, and they've kind of eased him into the lineup and eased into hyping him too much. Carson Beck made the comment this week that Malachi Toney will be playing on Sundays, and he scored the game's first touchdown, and Carson Beck looked excellent early in the game and throughout the game. I've got to say that he looked really good, and on this particular touchdown pass, slid in the pocket, backpedaled, going the more difficult route from dead center, backpedaled to his left, found Toney and threw the ball away from the defender like a pro. 7-0 Canes. Beck had a scramble that would have led to a first down on the next drive for the Canes, and meanwhile Notre Dame was doing nothing on offense, but a hold killed that Miami drive, and it was somewhat of a questionable call by the officials. Second quarter, 9 minutes left. Notre Dame finally getting the run game going. Jadarius Price ripped off a 30-yard run, and then C.J. Carr improvising, looking like Fran Tarkington or Russell Wilson. The coverage got lost, and he hits Micah Gilbert with the touchdown, and we're all knotted up at 7. But Miami moving down the field in the final seconds of the first half, and it was the tremendous play made by LSU transfer C.J. Daniels, who had a huge season 2 years ago at Liberty. Limited playing time and limited opportunities with LSU. He also was injured, I believe. One-handed touchdown catch. Look it up if you missed it. Tremendous play in coverage with only 12 seconds left in the first half, and that would prove possibly decisive. Canes led it at 14-7. We moved to the second half, and more Miami offensive line lean on the Notre Dame front. And we talked about this during two huge previews that we delivered over the last 6 weeks, where Miami's offensive line versus Notre Dame's defensive front would be key because they are two of the best units in the country, respectively. Got to cover Malachi Toney. He continued to be lost in coverage and slip out and make it a nightmare on the Notre Dame secondary, one of the best groups of defensive backs in the country. Miami on 3rd and short. There was penetration. There was a slip by Chamar Brown. And Notre Dame would take over. And at this point, we had a 21-7 lead after another Miami touchdown on the Chamar Brown run. 21-7 Miami. And they could have really iced the game. But Notre Dame needed to stop with about 4 minutes left in the third quarter. And they got it based on penetration, but also the slip. We don't know what would have happened there. Second half yardage at this point. Miami 89, Notre Dame nothing. And where was Jeremiah Love at this point? He only had 8 carries deep into the third quarter. But here comes Notre Dame. They get the ball to Malachi Fields for 26 yards. Beautiful, beautiful catch. One-on-one coverage down the right sideline. And then it was Jordan Faison again with the touchdown after C.J. Carr picked up a crucial 3rd and 5 on a really good play call on the quarterback keeper up the middle on the draw play. And Carr had a 13-yard run before that. We had heard many times that C.J. Carr was simply a pocket passer. Of course, we've not really seen him play other than spring football. But he proved to be pretty darn elusive in this game, both running north and south and also eluding rushers in the backfield and gaining yardage or just buying more time to throw. All right, Carr threw a screen pass, and this may have been the decisive play right here. Notre Dame cuts it to 21-14. They get the stop. They get the ball back. Carr probably should have held on to the football. He throws the ball to the right sideline. Notre Dame did have 2 wide receivers out there. One was supposed to block for the other, but Damari Brown made the play. He cut in between the two, and he avoided the block, tipped the ball up in the air. It got batted around a few times. Ruben Bain was hustling and picked it off, and Miami was in business at the Notre Dame 28. The Irish held on defense, forced the field goal to make it 24-14 at that point with 9 minutes left in the game. Notre Dame came back. They got stopped in the red zone, but Notre Dame got close enough to kick the answer of a field goal to make it 24-17 at that point. The last Miami possessions leading to what would be the eventual game-winning field goal, they got a bit conservative to a certain extent, but there was also a time or two that they let Carson Beck throw the ball when I thought, hey, they just ran it for 4, 5, 6 yards and want to chew the clock up with a 2-score lead. Miami went punt, gave up the ball on downs, punt, and then the field goal where they really didn't move the ball. They just benefited from the turnover. So Miami was stalling on offense at this point. And again, 24-17. 4.5 minutes left to play. Notre Dame's got a shot, and they moved the ball down the field very quickly because they got a busted coverage that sprung Eli Randon, the tight end, 65 yards down to the 10-yard line. And of course, Carr scored to make it 24-all, or I believe that was Jeremiah Love after Carr got it close. And here we go, 24-all, 2.5 minutes left to play. Miami leans on the offensive line. They barely threw the ball. They did a little bit early in the drive, but once they got inside the 50, they leaned on the running game, and they got it close enough for Carter Davis to convert the 47-yard field goal with 1:04 to play, and then the Miami defense took over. They were exceptional. Randon dropped the first pass. That was key. Didn't get the momentum. The drive started, and Notre Dame was behind the sticks. We saw the intentional grounding. We also saw the Miami pass rush was devastating, especially from the edge rushers, as we would expect, because Miami certainly poured recruiting efforts into Ruben Bain and those edge rushers, and it paid off in this one in a big way. C.J. Carr had no chance, sacked twice, and sacked to end the game. The intentional grounding included, and Miami holds on to win 27-24. Miami was the better football team tonight. It was a close game. Notre Dame fought. They held on, but Miami pushed them around on both sides of the ball most of the night, but especially the offensive line against Notre Dame's front. And it will be interesting to see if the Canes can sustain this type of level of play, because we've not seen it under Mario Cristobal. This is their best win by far. All right, Bethune-Cookman's next for the Canes. Then they've got a game South Florida team that's obviously coming off the rout against Boise State 34-7. For Notre Dame, could the Irish start 0-2? They've got Texas A&M visiting South Bend next week. They're going to have to lick their wounds and get ready for the Aggies. Comments and questions down below. I did miss the pick on this one, but I'm 15-7 against the spread, so you may want to check out my predictions on the premium tier right here at the Voice of College Football or on Patreon. And, of course, check our late night show, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Saturday, or Postgame. Give me a call, and we'll talk the grandest game with you here at the Voice of College Football.